I'm Historical Method Man, and this is Demand, the force of the Industrial Revolution. Technological change does not exist in a vacuum, for entrepreneurs create new products and production processes in the aim to sell goods that customers will actually purchase. The supply of new goods in the English Industrial Revolution was a response to the economic forces of demand, because the English guaranteed markets abroad through mercantilism and newfound consumerism that drove demand within England. The Crown's mercantilist monopoly assured an Atlantic market for textiles and its other goods. The consumer revolution in the upper and middle classes of the English was focused around fashion, while the lower classes demanded addictive products like sugar and tobacco. Consumerism fostered the industrious revolution that encouraged laborers to work long hours, increasing the supply of labor and further fueling production. Mercantilism, the consumer revolution, and the industrious revolution were all signs that demand was the cause of the Industrial Revolution. Before and during the early Industrial Revolution, British products tended to be poor in quality, so the basis of over 50% of their wealth was maintained by the re-exportation of goods to their colonies. The British mercantilist monopoly assured markets in the Americas, and the Navigation Acts of 1651 proved how tight a grip Britain had on American markets. And these acts prohibited Americans from buying goods from countries other than the British Empire. Thomas Munn, an East India Company trader, described how a proper merchant ought to know what goods are prohibited to be exported or imported in the said foreign countries. Through the mercantilist doctrine of limiting who can buy what products from whom, Britain guaranteed a massive market within their empire. While these markets do not matter unless people demand new products, they are an incredibly important precondition of the Industrial Revolution. The Western Hemisphere was incredibly profitable for the British Empire, not only because they provided a market for finished goods, but also because they were a massive source of raw materials and cash crops. Sugar, tobacco, silver, lumber, and coal created wealth by either being re-exported to the East or transformed into aforementioned finished goods. The size of the English middle class doubled as the British Empire exploited the people and resources from the Western Hemisphere. In a society where the nobility were tastemakers via the sumptuary laws, the enlarged middle classes sought to emulate the upper classes. The middle classes and upper classes' envy drove consumption. In fashion, novelty became an irresistible drug. The artificial market for luxury clothes and goods drove innovation, most visibly in the textile industry. Block-printed cottons and patterned cloth demonstrated the precision and the technological prowess of the time, as the advanced machines that wove these complex patterns into fabric were precursors to the first mechanical computers. Similarly, Norwich textile firms unveiled new chemical colors into the brocade-patterned silk. The dresses of the Victorian upper classes showcased the "we buy it because we can" attitude of wealthy consumers. Outfits were constructed to flex class through intricate patterns, not to be comfortable. Because these products were not made for necessity, the innovation and supply followed demand only when entrepreneurs knew that fashion and taste was lucrative. In furnishings, Wedgwood's Jasperware shows the intersection between marketing, luxury, and consumption. Josiah Wedgwood's London showroom hosted day-long tea tours that gave interested consumers an experience. In reality, Wedgwood's dishware was poorly constructed, but his company noticed a demand for luxury, so they artificially increased demand through marketing and let their supply follow. The demand in Britain's 27 North American colonies imitated England's demand, and from 1740 to 1763, the white upper classes in the Atlantic bought 120% more British consumer goods. The American and British markets for luxury goods and fabrics were so large that investors would have been foolish not to support technological innovation. Consumer desires equally infiltrated the British working classes, for newfound addictions fostered the industrious revolution that increased the supply of labor and total output. During the Industrial Revolution, wages did not go up for individual workers, but the putting out system and the encouragement of the entire family to work increased household income. This industrious revolution led to a redistribution of spending, and the working class spent more of their money on sugar, chocolate, tobacco, caffeine, and spirits over nutritious subsistence. As people developed addictions to these products, they began to work longer hours and fewer holidays. Historian Jan de Vries coined this intensification of labor the industrious revolution. Households made decisions that increased both the supply of marketed commodities and labor and the demand for goods offered in the marketplace. The industrious revolution lessened the bottleneck shortage of labor that held back production. In this way, demand increased supply as more worked in factories for longer to fulfill their wants. Some historians wrongfully believe that supply preceded demand during the Industrial Revolution. Technological historian T.S. Ashton influentially argued that the efforts of a few diligent tinkerers totally streamlined production processes across all industries. But his thesis completely ignored the all-powerful force of demand. In Ashton's words, the growth of production was associated with new forms of power, new machinery, or new knowledge derived from science. Ashton failed to realize that entrepreneurs would not invest into production if the demand was not a given. And this simple fact discredits nearly his entire argument. The fact of the matter is that the demand-sided argument realizes that supply was an effect of consumer demand. The supply-sided one acknowledges neither demand nor labor. The preconditions of the Industrial Revolution were all concerned with demands. The Consumer Revolution dominated all classes of British society. The rich sought fashion, while the workers found vice. This consumerism was equally apparent in the 27 North American colonies, and the mercantilist trade policies of the British Empire guaranteed a strong market for producers to supply. I'm Historical Method Man, and this is why demand was the force behind the Industrial Revolution.